Hi, my name is Mike, and one of the two categories that I am submitting to SGDQ 2019 for Resident Evil 4 is Separate Ways, which is the side campaign that you unlock in the game after completing the main game. And this side campaign is basically an abridged form of the main game through the perspective of Ada Wong, who's one of the main characters of the game, one of the three main characters. And as an abridged form of the main game, it's only about a half hour in length, though I would say the average run for a top runner is probably 25 minutes or so. 25 minutes. Compared to New Game Pro, where the average is about an hour and a half. So about a third of the length. But it's a lot of fun. It's very popular within the RE4 community, and it hasn't been shown at a GDQ yet, which is quite a shame. So let's go ahead and start right here. So one of the key differences you're going to note here is that we're not playing as Leon. We're playing as Ada. And Ada has her own differences compared to Leon. She runs faster, like her base movement speed is just faster. And also she has a smaller hurt box, so it's harder for enemies to hit her and grab her. And also the difficulty for this campaign is locked to normal compared to pro. Like, you can't choose the difficulty, which is kind of unfortunate. So as a result of it being on normal, we have a dynamic difficulty system in place where the difficulty of the game actually does changes based on how well the player is performing. So seeing me take hits like that is all intentional, because I am actually lowering my difficulty by doing that, which is good because I don't want my difficulty to be too high. My difficulty being low will make it easier for me to run past enemies, which is what I want because it's faster. So if it means taking a hit or two intentionally, then it's worth it if you're going to be able to run past the next 5 enemies without having to worry about anything. Okay. So those are the only 2 hits we are ideally going to take in this chapter. And right there, we made our only stop at the merchant for the entire run. Unlike New Game, where you stop at the merchant many times throughout the run, on Separate Ways, we only stop once. That one time, just to sell our weapons and to grab the TMP. The TMP is the only thing we need to complete this campaign. We're going to be using a lot of grenades, of course, as you saw me pick one up right there. That is something we are going to use, but weapons-wise, the TMP is the only thing we really need. Alright, let me see if I got this manipulation down. Alright, a little bit unlucky. There is a bit of randomness to that part, but it's okay, because we have a first aid here. So yeah, ordinarily that guy doesn't grab you. I got a bit unlucky there. But that's fine. It is okay. Unlike in New Game Pro, where there are no benefits to taking hits, of course. In this campaign, it is good, actually, to take hits. At least to a certain extent. Later on, as I'll explain, there are going to be some parts where I want my difficulty to be high. And, mostly the final boss of the campaign is where we want it to be high. But for most of the time, we want it to be low. Okay. Right here, you're seeing me do a puzzle that we ordinarily don't do in the main game, because it only gives you an emerald in the main game. But for Ada, we want to open that up so we can get that emblem and then put the emerald that Leon will later find in there. And we're going to use that to go ahead and open the church door right here. Oh. A little bit of a bit bumpy. That's okay, though. So, as you can see right there, the movement for this game can be very, very punishing. Because this game does still use tank controls. Like, some bad movement, like a bad line, will cause you to make a mistake like that. But that's okay. We're okay still. So right here, this is a puzzle you would ordinarily do as Leon, but the solution is different. It's 3-1-2 instead of 2-3-1. And we can also turn the dials much faster as Ada, which is a bit of a quality of life change, because this campaign was actually added in the PS2 version of the game and not the GameCube version, which is the original version. So this is something added after launch, so there are like some minor quality of life changes like that have been added in. But for the most part, enemies will still behave mostly the same. Alright. Right there, you see an example of how small Ada's hurt box is compared to Leon's. Where that enemy can't really do anything. Like, even though I was right in front of him and he swung right in front of me, he still wasn't able to hit me because Ada is very small. Like, she's pretty thin. So, it's going to allow us to get away with some stuff like that that would never work as Leon, unfortunately. But hey, I'm not complaining. Alright. So, we're just going to go ahead and just keep running past these enemies. There aren't too many enemies just yet. Right here, you're going to see me run past this, this field of bear traps, which, the hitbox on him isn't very big, so you can just go ahead and do that line to get past him. Despite what it looks, the game is pretty lenient with the bear trap hitboxes, even on 60, where the hitboxes are a bit bigger. So this entire time we've been running with a grenade, and unlike the main game where Leon will actually be faster if he runs with a grenade or a rocket launcher, etc., Ada's movement speed hasn't changed. We just need it for this next part. So I'm going to go ahead and use a grenade here to just clear out this house. I messed up right there. That's fine, though. Ordinarily, that grenade would kill all the enemies inside that house, but I threw it a little bit too far to the left, but it's fine. Because they are carrying dynamite around, all you need to do is shoot the dynamite, and it will blow up and instantly kill them. So it's not too big a deal if your grenade doesn't connect with all of them. Alright, so these enemies right here, we're just going to be able to run past all of them. As you can see, enemies who point at us, they have a lot of ending lag on the point, so if they point at you and you're like kind of cruising by, they really can't do anything. So now these bear traps have been removed for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe they realized, hey, the bear traps aren't working. Guys, she just ran past them. I don't know. But also, no more enemies. But instead, this area now is going to have a ton of them that we're going to just run past. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we manage to not take any damage in this room. This room can be a little bit random because there's so many enemies and they all behave a bit randomly. They all take random lines. Hopefully nothing will happen. That's unlucky. Yeah, that guy managed to get me from pretty far away. That's okay though. This room is just random. You just kind of hope you can get past him, but if you can't, that's fine. We're still green. We don't need to heal, so it's all good. So now we're just going to keep running. And right here, we're going to trigger a cutscene, and that's going to take us to nighttime, where we're being sacrificed on an altar for some reason. I don't know. But we're just going to go ahead and ditch these guys. And right here, I'm going to do some movement to hopefully... Nice. Okay, so getting past that dynamite is like 50-50. Sometimes you'll just get staggered by the dynamite on your way out, but I didn't there. That's pretty good. So we're gonna go ahead and grab this key. As you can see, the merchant is in very different spots compared to the Leon campaign. The merchant is ordinarily not there. He's usually over here by where this typewriter is. But we're not gonna see him. It's not even relevant. But we are gonna go ahead and unlock this door that isn't locked for the Leon campaign. And we need to go ahead and grab a key to activate this gondola. So right here, you're able to see kind of how these events are parallel to the main game. Ada is the one who turns on the gondola that Leon and Ashley later use. All right, here we have a mini-boss of sorts. We have to kill this chainsaw lady. I'm just using my TMP to kill her. Had to use a couple of extra shots because of how that enemy on the left was behaving. That's okay, though. We should have plenty of ammo for the next area. So I'm going to bait out an attack from this salad lady and then just run past him. And we need ammo for the next part of the run. I'm going to do a bit of a wide turn here, and this is going to manipulate these enemies into pointing at me and throwing their weapons, which makes it easy to run past them. That is an example of how enemy manipulation in this category works. It is very important in this category compared to New Game. In a New Game, if you want to get past most enemies, you just shoot them with a TMP and get past them, or hope you can get past them. But for Ada, for separate ways, there's a lot of like neat little tricks like that where you can just manipulate an enemy by moving a bit differently. Like if I were to have done that turn sharply, like as fast as possible, then the enemies would have behaved very, very differently, and they would have hit me, which I do not want. Okay. So right here, this would usually be a good time for donations and such, because it's just a lot of running. We're basically making our way over to where Leon is, where he's over at the cabin dealing with all those enemies and stuff. And we just need to go get in contact with Lewis, who's like this buddy that like Leon ran into. The guy you do the cabin with, basically. And there's a Gigante here, but we can just run to his left, and he can't do anything to us. It's pretty harmless. And we're just going to end this chapter right here. And now we are done with the village segment as Ada. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to the castle segment. So the castle segment's the shortest segment, which is ironic, because in the main game, the castle segment is the longest part of the entire run. But it's pretty short as Ada. So the way this works as Ada is we have to do this, like this maze right here, and we have to kill all these enemies. We have to kill all these enemies and pick up all the items inside the chests. Now, it's not all enemies that we need to kill, but it is most of them. So you're going to see me go ahead and just open up all these chests. We're just going to pick up what's inside, even though we don't need it. We don't even have a shotgun. We're never going to need that ammo, but we do need to loot it, because the only way that the main door to the labyrinth is opened is if you get all the items in the chest. So right there, I waited for that enemy to try and set me on fire, or to try and breathe the fire. A little thing you can do with those enemies is if you just shoot them once, then they just they catch on fire. I don't know. They're not pyrotechnics at all. So I'm going to go ahead and reload here, and as you see, I got the cutscene. That means you can leave. The main door is now open. So you can see all the enemies running over there, but I'm going to go ahead and go over here. We can run past this guy right here. Oh, that is very weird. He was not supposed to do that. Okay. That was not supposed to happen, but that's okay. That was not supposed to happen. That enemy turned a little bit to the left, or to his right, and that caused the flail hitbox to still get me. Usually you will not get hit by that flail, but due to how broken that hitbox is on 60 FPS, it can do some weird things like that, where you can just get hit by it even though like it doesn't seem to have any more active frames. So right here, I'm going to be doing some movement to make it so this guy doesn't do anything to me. So I'm going to go ahead and just loot those two things, and this guy never tried grabbing me or anything. Alright, that's kind of unlucky. So right there, if you getting hit by those crossbow guys is a 50-50. Usually it doesn't happen, but it's just RNG basically. If you get hit by it, you shrug it off, you just move on. And right here for safety, I'm going to go ahead and pick up this green herb, as well as another one coming up, because I don't want to get hit again. So right here, I got some good RNG. I can just move around that crossbow guy. And as you can see, the events are kind of like starting to overlap with Leon. Like Ada has her own little cage fight. Alright, that wasn't supposed to happen. As you can see, the biggest menace you have in this category is the crossbow enemies. The crossbow enemies are extremely random, unfortunately. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and run past all those enemies. Ordinarily, I would take an intentional hit from that crossbow guy if I didn't take any hits in order to lower my difficulty for the next section. But because we already took around 2 or 3 hits, my difficulty should be low enough for this chapter right here. So this chapter right here is by far the most annoying one, I would say. We have some differences of opinion inside the community on this one, but I tend to regard this as the worst chapter in the run, because it can be very, very random. But right here, this is looking good. Okay. Alright. Yeah, oh. Actually, no. Alright, good. So this crossbow guy is actually very random as well. He is one of the most random enemies in this category, but I was able to get past him just fine. So right now, my difficulty should be good. The difficulty is something I do worry about, because it can have a huge impact on this chapter specifically. There's a lot of enemies that you can normally get past that you can't get past if your difficulty is too high. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that for safety. And right here, a key difference with Leon is we're gonna go ahead and go into this turret right here. So this entire section right here is actually not in the Leon campaign. This is all exclusive to Ada, so this is all pretty much original content, which is pretty interesting. I just wish it wasn't the worst part to play, but it is pretty interesting that they legit added this entire map for Ada that you don't get to play as Leon. So right here we have an auto scroller. We just wait on the elevator to get to the other side. So this would normally be another place to do donations at, because there isn't much going on here. So after we get on that elevator, we're just gonna basically bob and weave to dodge all these enemies. And if we do everything correctly, we should be able to get past them. So I'm doing some movement here to be like safe that I normally don't do in order to dodge these enemies. So that enemy right there, that shield enemy, is an example of an enemy who would hit you if your DA was too high, because its tracking would be better. But luckily our DA is kind of low enough now. So we're gonna hop on this other cannon right here. And this one's a cannon, like it's not like a turret. So we're gonna go ahead and just shoot these right here, because they make it it's a lot easier to get past this part if you actually shoot those turrets and cannons. So we do leave that last cannon in order to be fast, so we can make this fast cycle on the elevator right here. But it can be a little bit risky. That turret can sometimes hit you just randomly. It's not a huge deal if it does happen, because there is always the restart checkpoint option. But it is pretty unfortunate when it does happen. So as you can see, I'm doing some pretty safe movement here in order to avoid all these enemies. Like, Ada's campaign is much more focused on like doing movement to dodge enemies compared to Leon, where you have Ditman, and even on parts where you don't have Ditman, you're usually just using the TMP to just stun enemies, like in Waterhall, for example. So that's the ship section done with. This is another original part for Ada. It's the highway section. This is like the aftermath of the truck section right here. So I did some movement there to dodge that enemy. And we're going to go ahead and drop down here. With some precise movement, we can go ahead and dodge all these enemies. There is going to be a bit of RNG coming up, though. It's not huge RNG, but it can be annoying when it happens. Alright, so right here, these enemies right here, I want them all to rush up. Alright, that's unlucky. Alright, I was able to dodge them, though. That's the unlucky pattern. If the axe thrower doesn't go to the door, then it's kind of unlucky, but we're fine. So right here. Alright, this is kind of unfortunate right here. Alright, I'm able to get past them anyways. Alright. This is all pretty scary. These enemies are not behaving the way they usually do. Which is a bit of a sign of high difficulty right now. My DA is probably pretty high. We are getting towards the end of the run, so that is to be expected. So I'm going to bait out both those enemies. I go in kind of deep there. It looks scary because that first enemy is so close to hitting me. And it is actually scary. But we need to bait out both the enemies at once. Otherwise, their attacks will be desynced, which we don't want. So right here, as you can see, the Steam version of the game has 480p cutscenes for whatever reason. Unlike the cutscenes in the main game that were updated to 1080p, the cutscenes for Separate Ways were never updated, unfortunately. So some parts like that can look a little bit outdated, but fortunately enough, the main, like, Separate Ways itself runs at 60 FPS, 1080p. So right now we're on the final chapter of Separate Ways. This is the military base. Oh, got a bit unlucky here. That's okay though. I have a lot of heals, fortunately enough. So that was pretty unlucky that enemy charged at me. But as you were seeing, there is quite a bit of RNG in this run with how enemies behave. But that's okay. That one enemy is fine. I just don't want to get hit multiple times here. So So for this part right here, I do want my difficulty to be kind of high for the bosses coming up. And right here, we're just trapped. I'm just throwing these grenades on these enemies. Oh, they're not usually doing this, but this is okay. Uh-oh. Alright, this is unlucky. This is something that normally doesn't happen. Okay. That's okay. There's some backup strats I can do. Ordinarily, that enemy is guaranteed to spawn a Plagas, but you ordinarily can wait until he's in the drop-down animation to kill him, and he won't spawn a Plagas. So I have to shoot that crossbow guy right there, otherwise he will hit me. So before I go down that zip line, just always shoot down that guy. And as you can see, this is where the run gets pretty intense. So right here, we're going through what was the triple turret room in the main game. And we're just going to keep running past all these enemies. And right here, we have a JJ who spawned. I got hit. That's okay, though, because I have some heals. Not a big deal. And because this room has so many crossbow enemies, right? That guy is usually not there. That's okay, though. So because this room has so many crossbow enemies, it can be pretty random. Just so many enemies, and they all just do their own thing. Yeah, like right there, that enemy somehow was able to get me, which is pretty unlucky. Uh-oh. Alright, so this is a part where this would be normally a 2-minute time loss, and the reason is because I got really unlucky there. That is very unfortunate that happened on my submission, but it is fine. It's about a minute or 2 time loss. But that's okay. That would usually be a run killer, but we're just gonna make do with it. So what happened there is my flash grenade had to hit both the JJs, because otherwise the other JJ was gonna hit me, and with this health I'm gonna instantly die. So I need to have my flash grenade, which I only have 2 of, to hit both the JJs. Which are these guys right here. Alright, so you're seeing a bit of randomness right there. I got hit again. This room is just very, very unpredictable. There's about... I don't even know. I don't think I've ever counted how many of the crossbow enemies are in this room, but there's a lot. I think there's about 4 or 5 of them. There's a lot. No, I think maybe 6. There's a lot of them. So it's just very unpredictable what happens in this category. As you can see, I'm getting shot at from every direction. But we're just going to make do with that. And I'm going to drop down right here, and that's the end of this room. Oh, until that happened. It is fortunate that there are a lot of heals to pick up as backup for that room specifically, because that room specifically, you can't really do much about getting hit by those crossbow enemies. They are one of the most random enemies in the game. They shoot randomly. Sometimes they'll hit you with like precision, and other times they'll be really off the mark, like will not be able to hit you at all. And sometimes they shoot much earlier than normal, and other times they take quite a bit of time to shoot. There's not much you can do about it, but that's okay. All right, so here we're gonna activate a cutscene, and I'm gonna quick turn to the right. And we have the final part of the game coming up right here. As you can see, I'm moving very far to the left there, so I can get past all these enemies. I'm going to pick up this last bit of TMP ammo, and here we have Krauser, who we thought was dead, but he's not. So that is a bit unlucky. That isn't really supposed to happen, but that's okay. I got kind of unlucky. Krauser's arm hitbox is pretty big on 60 FPS. So some pretty strange stuff can happen as a result, but we have that herb there as a backup, so it's okay. But as you can see, we can just take care of him with like 2 or 3 knife slashes each, and he's already dead. So that fight's the easy part of Separate Ways. It's one of the easier boss fights in this category. Right here is the boss fight, though. That is pretty difficult. And this right here is Sadler. In my opinion, this is probably the hardest boss in the game. So I got kind of unlucky here. My DA is very low, so he's moving over to me very slowly. This is a part where you would normally want your difficulty to be high because it saves so much time. So I'm going to wait for him to move a bit closer to me. And right here, I want to get him on the ramp, as that lets me hit his eyeball, the eyeball in his mouth, without like doing the QTE, so I'm able to hit it multiple times. That's a bit of a glitch. I'm pretty sure it wasn't intended by the developers. All right, so this is the final part of the run, where we just need to get the rocket launcher to Leon, who's fighting the main boss right now, or the final boss. So right there, I got kind of lucky, able to run past that enemy. And right here, we're going to do some bobbing and weaving to dodge that arrow. And I'm going to be doing some manipulation, like dropping on the far left there, so that guy, that enemy right there points at me. And this part also has a lot of crossbow guys, so as you can see, there's lots of crossbow guys. I don't know what it was, but the developers really wanted to add crossbow enemies in this category because there's so many of them. Like, there's a lot of them. But we are now at the final part. We're just going to run past all these enemies, go over here. And time is about to happen when we go ahead and throw down this rocket launcher towards Leon. So as soon as I throw the rocket launcher, which is right now. There we go. Okay. Considering how bad my RNG was, I got a 25.55, so about the average time. My PB is a 23.42 in-game time, which is what the clear time is. I hope you all enjoyed. This is a category I really like, despite how frustrating it can be. I think it would make a great bonus towards the main campaign of RE4. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching.